Chapter 4. The Price of Purpose. As observed by me, Vilis of the Quiet Accord, the thing about divine plans is that they unfold like flowers, slowly at first, then all at once, revealing beauty that often conceals thorns. I watched Edrin and Mira make camp that first night after leaving Calem's forge, and I wondered which of them would prove to be the thorn in the other side. The boy struggled with 21 voices while trying to maintain the fiction that he could last 6 weeks without breaking. The woman watched him with eyes that held too much knowledge and not enough mercy. She had not told him what she was, not truly, and I, bound by laws older than memory, could not warn him that his companion carried her own divine burden, one that made her both salvation and trap. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me tell it as it unfolded, disaster building upon disaster until even gods took notice. They made camp in the ruins of an old watchtower. Its stones remembering better days when borders were lines on maps rather than excuses for slaughter. Edrin collapsed more than sat, the weight of souls dragging at him like anchors. Frost spread from where he touched the ground, his control fraying with exhaustion. 6 weeks, he muttered, the words becoming a mantra. Just 6 weeks? Mira built a fire with practiced efficiency, but her attention never left him. The harvesters will have reported back by now. The Dreamwalker's death will not go unnoticed, and those soldiers you intimidated instead of killing, they'll talk. Let them talk. He pressed palms against his temples, trying to quiet the chorus. What are they going to say? A boy with a demon blade made us run? They'll sound mad. Mad stories spread fastest in times of war. People want to believe in monsters. It explains why neighbours become enemies, why the world burns for reasons they can't understand. She produced food from her pack, the eternal mystery of where she kept it all. You're becoming myth, Edrin, and myths draw hunters like honey draws flies. Then what do you suggest? Stop fighting what you are. Start using it. He looked at her sharply. You sound like the sword. The sword wants to consume you. I want you to survive. Similar words, different intentions. She handed him bread that tasted of better days. Tell me, what do you know of the Gods' War? The what? The first conflict? When the Aurelian and Varkal split from common origin. When the Well of Souls became prize, rather than shared responsibility. Edrin shook his head. That's ancient history, mythology. It's current events wearing an old costume. Mira's voice carried weight that made the fire flicker. The war never ended. It just learned subtlety. The Aurelian maintained order through the Accord. The Varkal sow chaos through individual agents, and caught between them. Mortals die. Mortals choose. That's what makes you dangerous, Edrin. Not the sword, not the souls, not the growing power. You're a mortal who can affect divine balance. That makes you either weapon or wild card. I don't want to be either. Want is a luxury you can no longer afford. She studied him with those two knowing eyes. But you can still choose which side uses you. Or better yet, choose to use them. Before Edrin could respond, the temperature dropped. Not the gradual cold that followed him now, but a sharp plunge that turned breath to mist and froze the fire mid-flicker. Shadows lengthened despite the flames, reaching toward them with deliberate intent. Well, said a voice like honey poured over broken glass. What an interesting conversation to stumble upon. She materialized from darkness itself, tall, beautiful in the way predators were beautiful, wearing purple that shifted to black when the light changed. Ishkara, the veiled Moor, though she wore no veil now. Her smile promised everything and delivered only endings. Divine attention twice in one story, she mused, circling them with casual menace. How remarkable! Usually mortals barely rate a glance, but you're becoming quite the attraction. Edrin's hand found sorrow's edge, but Mira touched his wrist. Wait, the gesture said, watch, learn. Lady Ishkara, Mira said, and her voice carried none of its usual warmth. Still playing matchmaker with disasters? Mira. The goddess's smile widened. Or should I say, the wanderer who finds, the seeker of lost things, the woman who escaped your sister's chains. Yes, all of those. Mira stood slowly, and suddenly she didn't seem like a simple travelling companion anymore. Power radiated from her, not aggressive like Edrin's, but patient, waiting. What do you want? Direct as always. I admired that, back when you served willingly. Ishkara's attention shifted to Edrin. You've chosen interesting company, boy. Did she tell you what she was? What she did? Why the Aurelian want her back so badly they'd burn nations to reclaim her? Leave him out of this, Mira warned. Oh, but he's already in it, up to his neck and sinking fast. The goddess laughed, and windows in the ruined tower cracked. 21 souls and counting. My brother outdid himself with that blade, though I notice you haven't accepted its bargain yet. Admirable, foolish, but admirable. If you're here to make threats, Edrin began. Threats? Dear child, I don't make threats. I make offers. She produced something from the air itself, a scroll that writhed like a living thing. Tomorrow you'll encounter someone like yourself, another bearer of divine weaponry. They'll try to kill you, you'll defend yourself, and one of you will die. Standard, heroic nonsense. Why warn me? Because I'm going to make it interesting. She handed the scroll to Mira, who took it with obvious reluctance. The bearer's name is Marcus Fellblade. He carries grief's echo, a soul weapon that feeds on sorrow rather than death. He's absorbed 43 souls over 2 years. He's quite mad, of course, but terribly efficient. You want me to kill him? Edrin said flatly. I want you to survive the encounter. My brother has plans for you, and they'll be terribly dull if you die tomorrow. Her form began to fade. Read the scroll, Wanderer. Tell him the truth. Or don't. Either way provides entertainment. She vanished like smoke in wind, leaving only the smell of roses and ruin. Mira stared at the scroll in her hands as if it might bite. Probably it might. What truth? Edrin asked. She sighed, suddenly looking every one of her accumulated years. The truth about what I am, what I was, what I'm becoming again by travelling with you. She opened the scroll, and memory spilled out like water. I watched Mira's past unfold through divine gossip made manifest. Ishkara did like her dramatic reveals, and even I learned things I hadn't known. The images showed a younger woman, perhaps 25, wearing the white and gold of an Aurelian seeker. She stood before the luminaries themselves, accepting a crown of crystallized truth, the truth seeker's crown, one of 7 implements of order. It would show her the location of anything lost, the nature of anything hidden, the reality behind any deception. I was their perfect servant, Present Mira narrated as past Mira began her work. For 15 years I found what they needed. Lost artifacts, hidden Varkal agents, and mortals who'd stumbled onto divine secrets. I was very, very good at my job. The images shifted. Past Mira tracking a cult through 3 kingdoms. Past Mira revealing a hidden cache of soul weapons. past Mira standing over the bodies of those who tried to hide from Aurelian justice. The crown showed me everything, she continued, every lie, every deception, every small cruelty mortals use to survive. Do you know what happens when you can't unsee truth? When every conversation reveals hidden motives, every smile shows calculation, every kindness comes with price tags attached. You go mad, Edrin said quietly. You go numb, which is worse. The images showed past Mira growing harder, colder, more efficient. The Aurelian loved it. I became their perfect tool. No conscience to trouble, no emotions to cloud judgment, just pure purpose, given form. What changed? I found something I wasn't supposed to. The final image, past Mira standing before a sealed door in a place that existed outside normal reality. The crown on her head blazed with power as it revealed what lay beyond. Something so terrible, so fundamental to the Aurelian's power, that even divine gossip wouldn't show it clearly. I can't tell you what I saw, Present Myra said as the scroll crumbled. The binding still holds. But I can tell you it changed everything. Made me question who the real enemies were. Made me wonder if order and chaos were just different faces of the same cosmic joke. So you ran. I removed the crown, which was supposed to be impossible. I walked away from the Aurelion, which was supposed to be unthinkable. I became the wanderer, spending 20 years learning to see the world without truth forcing itself on me. She met his eyes, and then I felt a pull. Something lost that needed finding. Someone carrying a burden that might, just might, tip the balance of the eternal war. Me. You, though I didn't expect. She gestured vaguely at him. All of this, the sword, the souls, the growing legend. I thought I'd find a weapon. Instead I found a person trying not to become one. And that matters? It's the only thing that matters. She returned to the fire, which had resumed burning once Ishkera departed. The gods' war isn't about good versus evil. It's about control versus freedom. The Aurelian want everything ordered, predictable, safe. The Vakul want everything chaotic, changing, dangerous. Neither side asks what mortals want. And what do mortals want? The choice to be more than pieces on someone else's board, she smiled sadly. Which brings us to tomorrow. Marcus Fellblade is what happens when someone embraces their soul weapon fully. He's powerful, experienced, and completely insane. You're not ready for him. Then we run, avoid the encounter. Can't. Ishkara's already set events in motion. Roads will bend. Circumstances will conspire. You'll meet him tomorrow no matter which direction we travel. She pulled out a map that showed more than geography. But we can choose where. There's a place, the Broken Crown. Old battlefield from the Third Expansion War. The dead outnumber the living there, and the veil between real and possible wears thin. Why there? Because soul weapons behave strangely in places of mass death. Power amplifies, but control weakens. It might give you an edge. She paused. Or it might drive you completely mad. But those are the choices we have. Edrin absorbed this. 21 voices offering 21 different opinions on trust, betrayal, and the reliability of divine servants. You're still Aurelian, still wearing chains, just invisible ones. Yes, but you're helping me. Yes. Why? She considered her words carefully. Because I've seen what happens when only gods get to choose. Maybe it's time mortals had a say, and you, impossible boy, might be the key to that conversation. Or I might just be another weapon waiting to be aimed. That too. Guess we'll find out tomorrow. They settled for the night, but sleep came poorly. Edrin's dreams were battlefields where 21 souls fought for control. Mira's dreams were memories of truth too terrible to share. And somewhere in the divine realm, two gods smiled and moved pieces on a board that spanned reality itself. Tomorrow would bring blood and revelation in equal measure. But first, the night had its own trials to offer. The first assassin came at midnight. Not Marcus Fellblade. That orchestrated encounter would wait for daylight drama. This was something simpler and more disturbing, a child. She couldn't have been more than 12, slipping through shadows with skill that spoke of years of training. In her hands, daggers that wept poison. In her eyes, nothing at all. Edrin woke to sorrow's edge, screaming warnings, the blade's awareness extending beyond his sleeping senses. He rolled aside as the first dagger parted air where his throat had been. The second would have found his heart if time hadn't stretched, showing him the angles of attack in crystalline clarity. "Stop," he commanded, but the child was already moving. She flowed like water, struck like lightning, killed like she was born to it, which he realized with sick certainty she probably was. "End her," Sorrow's Edge urged. "She's forfeited mercy by choosing violence. She's a child," Edrin shot back, parrying desperately. Even with 21 souls' worth of combat knowledge, the girl was devastating. She'd been shaped for this single purpose, honed like a blade herself. She's a weapon wearing a child's face. There's a difference. Mira had awakened, but didn't intervene. She watched with careful eyes, judging something beyond the immediate threat. The child, weapon, whatever she was, pressed her attack. No words, no battle cries, no emotion at all. Just technique, so perfect it achieved its own terrible beauty. She was what Edrin could become. Skill without self, purpose without person. "I don't want to hurt you," he tried again, using shadow step to avoid a strike that would have severed tendons. She responded by producing more daggers from nowhere, throwing them in patterns that cut off escape routes. One grazed his shoulder, and immediately the wound burned with poison that wanted to stop his heart. "Now, will you take this seriously?" the sword demanded. Edrin's vision blurred. The poison was sophisticated, designed to incapacitate, not kill immediately. They wanted him alive, but helpless. Why? The answer came with the child's next attack. She aimed not for vitals, but for the sword itself, trying to separate him from Sorrow's Edge. This wasn't assassination. It was theft. "Someone wants my blade," he gasped, pieces clicking together. "Sent a child because they knew I'd hesitate." "Very good," Mira said mildly. "Now what will you do about it?" The poison spread, slowing his movements. The child sensed weakness and pressed harder. Her daggers sang through air, each strike perfectly placed to drive him toward inevitable defeat. 21 voices screamed advice. "Kill her before she kills you. Disarm and disable. Death isn't necessary. Take her skills. Add them to our collection. She's innocent. Forced to this? Innocence died when she drew steel. Save her. Save yourself. Save everyone." "Enough." The word tore from Edrin's throat with such force that reality stuttered. Shadows exploded outward from where he stood, not reaching or grasping, but simply denying. The child's daggers met darkness and ceased to exist. Her forward momentum met the same negation. She hung suspended in a moment between heartbeats, held by the space between real and not. "I reject this choice," Edrin said, and his voice carried harmonics that belonged to no single soul. "I refuse to kill a child. I refuse to die to one. I refuse the binary your masters set before me." The frozen moment shivered. The child's eyes, empty before, suddenly filled with confusion, then fear, then something that might have been hope. "Please," she whispered, the first word she'd spoken. "They have my sister. If I don't bring your sword?" "Then we save her too." Edrin released his hold on frozen time, caught the girl as she collapsed. The poison in his system fought against the declaration, but he'd learned something from the Dreamwalker's intrusion. His body contained 21 souls' worth of vitality. He could survive what would kill a single person. "Interesting solution," Mira observed. "Completely impractical, probably doomed, but interesting. You could have helped. You needed to make the choice yourself. Too many people telling you what to do already." She moved to examine the child, who'd passed out from the shock of having her conditioning cracked. Shadow syndicate work. They train orphans from birth, strip away everything but skill. This one's been active, maybe 2 years? "She said they have her sister." "They always have leverage. It's how they ensure loyalty from tools that might otherwise turn." Mira produced a vial from her endless supplies. "Antidote for the poison. You'll need it. That particular blend causes paralysis in about 10 minutes. Edrin drank, tasting bitterness and the faint echo of regret. "Can we track where she came from?" "We? You're planning to storm a syndicate safe house to rescue a sister who might not exist, might already be dead, or might be another assassin waiting to strike?" "Yes." Mira smiled, and it was the first truly warm expression he'd seen from her. "Good. I was starting to worry you'd lost all impractical nobility under that practical darkness. The sword thinks I'm an idiot. The sword thinks in terms of efficiency. Life is messier than that." She lifted the unconscious child with surprising ease. "There's a syndicate way station about 3 miles north. We can start there." "What about Marcus Fellblade? The appointment Ishkara arranged?" "Oh, that'll still happen. Divine plans don't derail for mortal kindness. But we might have a few hours to do something stupidly heroic first." They left the watchtower ruins as clouds gathered, promising a storm by dawn. Edrin carried the child while Mira scouted ahead, moving like someone who'd done this before. The 21 souls in his head had reached a strange consensus. Saving an assassin child wasn't efficient, wasn't smart, wasn't what any of them would have done. But it was what he chose, and for now, that was enough. The syndicate way station squatted in a dell like a toad made of timber and bad intentions. To casual observation, it appeared to be an abandoned woodcutter's cottage. To eyes that knew how to look, it bristled with traps, wards, and the kind of patient menace that suggested visitors were unwelcome and survivors unlikely. 7 guards, Mira reported after a reconnaissance. 2 visible, 5 hidden. Standard syndicate deployment. They're not expecting trouble. Who'd be stupid enough to attack them directly? We would, apparently. Edrin studied the building, the child assassin still unconscious, but beginning to stir. How do we get in without getting her sister killed? Boldly. Mira's smile held edges. They expect stealth or force. Give them theatre instead. Which is how Edrin found himself walking up the main path, the child in his arms. Sorrow's edge peace-bonded across his back in a gesture of non-aggression that fooled nobody. "Hello, the house," he called. "I've got something you lost." Crossbow bolts answered, but time stretched and showed him their paths. He stepped between them with casual grace, not even shifting his burden. "Really? That's your response? I'm returning your property and you shoot at me?" He let disappointment colour his voice. "The child lives. Your operation failed. Let's discuss this like civilized people who occasionally murder for money." A door opened. A woman emerged, scarred, competent, radiating the kind of danger that came from surviving in a profession where retirement usually meant death. "You're the sole blade bearer. Guilty. Your syndicate command for this region." Observant. She studied him with professional interest. "The contract specified your weapon, not your life. Yet here you are, breathing, and carrying one of my tools." She mentioned a sister. Ah. Understanding flickered across scarred features. The leverage. "Yes, we have her. No, you can't have her. Yes, this ends badly for everyone involved." "Counter-proposal," Edrin said. "I give you information worth more than my sword. You give me both children and we all walk away." What information could possibly... Marcus Fellblade will be at the Broken Crown battlefield tomorrow, carrying grief's echo. 43 souls absorbed, completely insane but predictable in his patterns. He smiled without warmth. Imagine what the right buyer would pay for that knowledge. A soul weapon bearer's location, his weaknesses, his scheduled appearance. The commander's eyes sharpened. Professional interest became avarice. "You'd sell out another bearer? I'd trade information for lives. Whether you act on it," he shrugged, "that's your business. And if I take the information and keep the children? Then I stop being civilized." He let shadows gather at his feet, let frost creep across the ground, let time hiccup just enough to show what civilized was holding back. "Your choice." She considered. Behind her, hidden guards shifted nervously. They'd heard stories about soul weapons, but stories were different from reality standing at your door radiating casual menace. "Vera," the commander called. "Bring the spare tool." Another child emerged, younger than the first, maybe 9, with the same empty eyes and careful movements. But when she saw her sister, something cracked in that trained emptiness. "Kira?" Hope and fear and confusion all at once. "Simple trade," the commander said. "Information for tools. Though I'm curious why you care. They're not people anymore, just weapons we've shaped." "Everything can be reshaped," Edrin said, "even weapons." The exchange was quick. Information passed, children retrieved. The commander smiled like she'd won something, already calculating how to profit from tomorrow's encounter. Edrin walked away with 2 broken children and the certainty that he'd just made everything more complicated. "That was remarkably bloodless," Mira observed once they were clear. "The sword is furious. All those souls right there, none claimed." He could feel sorrow's edge seething against his back. "It thinks I'm getting soft." "Are you?" He looked at the 2 girls, Kira beginning to wake, Vera holding her sister like she might vanish. Maybe. Is that bad? In the long term? Probably. For tonight? It's the most human thing I've seen you do. They made camp far from the way station, in a grove where moonlight filtered through leaves like broken promises. The children huddled together, trained killers reduced to scared girls by the simple act of reunion. "What do we do with them?" Edrin asked. "There's a monastery 2 days south. They take in war orphans, no questions asked. It's not perfect, but it's better than the syndicate." "And tomorrow?" "Tomorrow you face Marcus Fellblade. Tomorrow you discover what happens when soul weapons clash. Tomorrow." She paused, seeing something in the fire only she could perceive. "Tomorrow many things begin moving faster. Any advice? Don't die. I'd hate to have walked all this way just to watch another bearer fall to madness and violence." "Another?" But she was done talking. Attention turned inward to memories she wouldn't share. Edrin settled for sleep, knowing it would bring the usual chorus of 21 arguments. But tonight, something was different. Tonight, 2 children slept safe because he'd chosen mercy over efficiency. It wasn't much. In the grand scheme of divine games and mortal wars, it barely registered. But it was his choice, and that perhaps mattered more than gods or weapons wanted to admit. Dawn broke like a bloody promise over the broken crown. The battlefield stretched for miles, a scar on the world where 30,000 had died in a single day, fighting over borders that no longer existed. The ground was more bone than earth, more memory than reality. Here 3 kingdoms had bled themselves empty over insults forgotten before the last body stopped twitching. "Feel that?" Mira asked as they approached. Edrin did. The air tasted of copper and regret. Shadows moved wrong, cast by light that had died with the soldiers, and underneath it all, a thrumming that made sorrow's edge sing in harmony. "Death echoes," he said, "thousands of them, tens of thousands, all waiting for someone foolish enough to claim them." She'd left the children at a way shrine with travelling merchants, promising to retrieve them after, if there was an after. "Your sword will go mad with hunger here. Try not to let it drive." "It's already trying." "So much feast," Sorrow's Edge whispered. "Ancient souls, powerful souls, souls that died in passion and fury. We could absorb them all, become legion, become unstoppable." "We're here for one fight," Edrin said firmly. "Not a harvest. Every fight is a harvest. You just haven't accepted that yet." They entered the battlefield proper as noon approached. Broken weapons jutted from earth like grave markers. Armour lay where it had fallen, still wrapped around bones that remembered wearing it. The silence was absolute. No birds, no insects, nothing living willing to disturb this monument to mortality. At the centre, where the fighting had been thickest, a figure waited. Marker's fell blade had been handsome once. Strong jaw, noble bearing, the kind of face painters used for heroes. But 2 years of grief's echo had carved away everything soft. He stood gaunt as winter, eyes sunk deep in a face that had forgotten how to express anything but sorrow. The sword at his side, if it could be called that, looked more like crystallized tears given edge. "You came," he said, and his voice carried harmonics of 43 deaths. "I wasn't sure you would. People avoid me now. Can't imagine why." "Ishkara arranged this meeting." "Ishkara arranges many things. Doesn't mean we have to dance to her tune." He drew grief's echo with movements that spoke of long practice. The blade wept constantly, drops of condensed sorrow that hissed where they struck earth. "But we will anyway, we always do. That's the joke, you see. Choice is just another illusion." "I don't want to fight you. Neither did the others. 37 soul bearers I've faced. 37 times I've said we could walk away. 37 times we've danced until only one remained standing." His smile held nothing but emptiness. "Can you guess which one?" "There has to be another way." "Has to be, should be, could be. Pretty words that mean nothing when the blade starts singing." Grief's echo rose to guard position. "Do you know what my weapon does? It doesn't steal souls like yours. It drowns them. Every death I deal, I experience their greatest sorrow, their deepest loss, their most profound regret. 43 lifetimes of pain compressed into me. That's horrible. That's the point. Nethrix gave you hunger. His sister gave me sorrow. Together, we're a matched set. Consumption and loss, the twin engines of mortal existence. He began circling, each step careful as a funeral march. But enough philosophy, let's give the gods their show. He struck without warning, grief's echo moving like liquid moonlight. Where sorrow's edge was brutal efficiency, this was deadly poetry. Each swing carried the weight of accumulated loss, each thrust aimed not just at flesh but at the heart of what made life worth living. Edrin parried, but the impact sent waves of sorrow through him, not his own. The collected grief of everyone who'd died on this field. 30,000 last moments crashing into his consciousness at once. The grief hit like a physical force, driving Edrin to one knee. In that instant, he experienced 30,000 deaths, not just the ending, but the loss. Children who would never see their fathers again. Wives receiving news that broke them. Parents outliving sons. Dreams unmade, promises unkept, love severed by steel. Beautiful, isn't it? Marcus advanced, his blade leaving trails of crystallized sorrow, the weight of what we take. Your sword shows you the dying, mine shows me what dies with them. Edrin forced himself upright, using every technique 21 souls had taught him just to stay conscious. This is insane. We're torturing ourselves with others' pain. Torture? No, this is honesty. Marcus struck again, a flowing combination that would have been gorgeous if it weren't lethal. Every warrior should feel what they inflict. Every killer should carry the weight of what they end. Time stretched as Edrin drew on sorrow's edge's power, but even slowed, Marcus moved with terrible grace. 43 souls' worth of combat experience, refined by the kind of suffering that either broke you or honed you to a razor's edge. He's too skilled, the sword admitted, too experienced, but he's also incomplete. He carries sorrow, but not the souls themselves. Strike true and take both. I don't want his pain. Want is weakness, need is strength. And you need to survive. They danced across the ancient battlefield, two bearers of divine weapons performing for an audience of the dead. Each clash of blades released more echoes, grief meeting hunger, sorrow feeding consumption. The very air grew thick with released anguish. Edrin shadow-stepped, trying to flank, but Marcus anticipated it. Grief's echo swept through the space where he emerged, missing flesh by inches but catching soul. The sorrow that poured through that near miss was personal. Not the battlefield's dead, but Marcus's own accumulated loss. A childhood friend drowned, a lover lost to plague, a brother killed in a war that meant nothing. Each grief piled atop the last until Marcus was less person than repository of pain. Do you see? Marcus pressed his advantage, driving Edrin back toward a cluster of ancient weapon stands. This is what we become, not warriors, not heroes, just walking graveyards carrying the weight of our crimes. There has to be another way. There is. Death, mine or yours, possibly both. He smiled, and it was the most horrible thing Edrin had ever seen. Joy, completely divorced from happiness. Shall we find out? The battle intensified. Shadows writhed as Edrin pushed his newer powers to their limits. Time stuttered and flowed in ways that made reality hiccup. But for every advantage he gained, Marcus's experience countered. For every clever technique, grief found an answer. And through it all, the 21 voices in Edrin's head screamed their own agonies, excited by the feast of sorrow surrounding them. Then Marcus made a mistake. Or perhaps it was deliberate. With the mad, intention became fluid. He overextended on a thrust, leaving his guard open for a fraction of a heartbeat. Edrin saw the opening. Sorrow's edge sang its hunger. Time slowed to crystal clarity, showing him exactly where to strike. One thrust, perfectly placed, and he would add a 44th soul to his collection. Instead, he struck with the flat of his blade. The impact sent Marcus tumbling, grief's echo spinning from nerveless fingers. For a moment, both bearers stared at each other. One standing with killing stroke declined, one on the ground with life inexplicably spared. Why? Marcus's voice cracked with something that might have been hope or disappointment. Because I'm not you. Not yet. Edrin lowered sorrow's edge, though the blade screamed protest. And maybe I don't have to be. Fool! The gods don't allow mercy in their games. But Marcus made no move to retrieve his weapon, though perhaps that's the point, to choose it anyway. The moment hung between them, fragile as spun glass. Then the air split like torn silk, and divinity made itself manifest. Netheric stepped from nothingness into reality with the casual arrogance of one who owned both. He looked different than in the forge, less overwhelming, more precisely crafted. A beautiful man, wearing a beautiful smile that promised beautiful disasters. His presence made the ancient battlefield seem suddenly small, cramped, insufficient for containing what he represented. "Well done," he said, and his voice carried the satisfaction of plans proceeding perfectly. Though I must admit I expected more blood. The restraint is interesting. Lord Anetherix, Marcus whispered from the ground, terror replacing all his cultivated sorrow. Marcus, still playing with my sister's gift, I see. How is that working out for you? The god didn't wait for an answer. Attention already shifted to Edrin. You, however, continue to exceed expectations. 21 souls and still maintaining enough self to choose mercy. Remarkable. What do you want? Direct. I appreciate that in mortals, so little time, so much urgency. Netheric circled them both, each step leaving frost that had nothing to do with natural cold. I want what I've always wanted. Evolution, growth. The next thing, becoming itself. And you, my dear boy, are becoming something wonderful. I'm becoming a killer. You're becoming necessary. There's a difference. He gestured, and something materialized from shadow. A stand holding armor that shouldn't exist. It was darkness given form, night woven into protection. Not black, but the absence of light, the space between stars shaped to human frame. It seemed to drink in illumination, creating its own penumbra of shadow. Yet for all its impossibility, it looked light as silk, supple as leather. A gift, Netherix announced. Call it appreciation for services rendered and services yet to come. I haven't served you. Haven't you? Every soul you take disrupts the balance. Every mercy you show confounds expectations. Every choice you make that should be impossible sends ripples through carefully maintained order. His smile widened. Your chaos wearing the shape of a boy, the accord trembles, the Aurelion debate, the war escalates, all because you exist at the intersection of what is and what might be. The war, understanding dawned with sick certainty. You're feeding it. The dreams, the conflicts, the escalation, it's all you. Me? I'm merely encouraging natural tendencies. Mortals need so little push to embrace their worst impulses. He lifted the armor from its stand, and it flowed like liquid night. But we're not here to discuss philosophy. We're here because you need this, and I enjoy providing necessities. I don't want your gifts. No? Then let me demonstrate why you do. Netherix moved faster than divine beings should need to. His hand touched Edrin's shoulder and power flooded through the contact, not attacking, but revealing. In that instant, Edrin felt everything. The true weight of 21 souls, the fractures in his psyche spreading like ice, cracking. The countdown to madness measured in days, perhaps hours. 6 weeks until Caelum's hammer is complete, Netherix whispered. At your current rate of degradation, you have perhaps 2, unless I wear your armor, accept your protection. Smart boy, it's specially crafted, not just protection for your body, but for your mind. It will help contain the souls, organize them, keep them from tearing you apart quite so quickly. He stepped back, leaving the armor floating in air between them. Of course, there's a price. There always is. What price? Connection. Wear this, and I'll always know where you are, what you're doing, who you're killing. The god's expression grew serious. But more than that, it will make you better at what you do. Shadow walking will come easier. Time distortion will cost less. The souls will integrate smoother. You'll become the perfect bearer of my gifts. The perfect weapon. The perfect agent of necessary change. The war needs ending, Edrin. The stalemate between Aurelion and Varkul has lasted too long. Something must tip the balance. He glanced at Marcus, still frozen on the ground. Kill him. Take his souls, and the armor is yours. Refuse, and, well, madness comes in many forms, some louder than others. That's not a choice, that's extortion. That's divinity. We don't make fair offers. We make offers you can't refuse. Netherix began to fade. Oh, and boy, your companion isn't what she seems. But then you already suspected that. The question is whether she's asset or liability. The armor will help you decide that too. He vanished, leaving only the floating armor and the smell of divine amusement. Marcus laughed, a broken sound like glass in a grinding wheel. Perfect. We're all puppets, and the gods aren't even subtle about the strings anymore. Edrin stared at the armor. It was beautiful. It was terrible. It was probably the only thing that would let him survive long enough to claim his father's hammer, and it would make him exactly what Netherix wanted, a weapon aimed at cosmic balance. What would you do? He asked Marcus. Die. But I've been looking for that exit for 2 years. You still think there's hope? Marcus struggled to his feet, leaving grief's echo where it lay. Take the armor. Take my souls. Take whatever you need to keep that hope alive a little longer. You want me to kill you. I want someone to end this performance. 43 acts of sorrow are enough for any play. He spread his arms wide. Grant me mercy, disguised as murder. It's the kindest thing anyone's offered in years. No. The word surprised them both. No? Marcus blinked. I'm offering you everything. Power, protection, freedom from my continued existence. Why refuse? Because that's what they expect, what they want, what makes the game continue. Edrin stepped back from the armor, though every soul in his head screamed at the rejection. I choose neither. Then you choose madness. Maybe, or maybe I choose to find a different way, one they haven't scripted. He looked at the armor again. It called to him, safety, power, purpose, everything he needed wrapped in midnight silk. But not today. Marcus studied him with eyes that held too much pain and sudden, terrible hope. You're either the wisest fool I've met or the most foolish wise man. Either way. He retrieved grief's echo carefully, like handling broken glass. I think I'll stick around to see how this plays out, even though I didn't free you, because you didn't. First interesting thing to happen in years. He sheathed his weapon with visible effort. Besides, misery loves company, and you're about to have plenty of both. Mira chose that moment to arrive, moving across the battlefield with her usual impeccable timing. She took in the scene. 2 soul-bearers not killing each other. Divine armour floating patient. The taste of godly visitation still in the air, and sighed. Let me guess. Nethrix made an offer you couldn't refuse, and you refused it anyway. Something like that. And now we have another madman following us around. Seems so? Wonderful, as if 21 screaming voices weren't enough chaos. But her eyes held approval. We should go. Divine attention draws other divine attention, and this battlefield has seen enough gods for one day. They left the broken crown as afternoon shadows lengthened. An unlikely trio, bound by nothing but the shared experience of declining destiny. Behind them, the armour waited, patient as stone. It would be there tomorrow, Nethrix knew. Or the day after, or whenever the boy's resistance finally cracked. Time, after all, favoured patience, and madness favoured everyone. That night, I watched them make camp and wondered at the threads of fate tangling ever tighter. Marcus Fellblade proved to be surprisingly functional when not actively trying to die. He cooked. Apparently, sorrow hadn't stripped him of all mundane skills, producing a stew from ingredients that shouldn't have worked together but did. The meal was seasoned with tears that might have been from onions or older griefs. So, he said conversationally, stirring the pot with mechanical precision. 21 souls. How's the screaming? Loud, Edrin admitted, constant, getting worse. I only carry 43 sorrows, not the souls themselves. Different kind of weight. Less personal, more universal. Like carrying everyone's worst day without knowing their names. He tasted the stew, added something that might have been salt. The armour would help, you know. Of course it would. That's the trap. Everything's a trap. The question is, which one kills you slower? Marcus served the stew with movements that suggested he'd once known hospitality. Your friend there. She's very quiet about that crown-shaped scar on her soul. Mira looked up sharply. You can see that? Grief recognizes all wounds, even the invisible ones. He settled with his own bowl, eating mechanically. Truth seeker, weren't you? Before you ran. Must have seen something special to break those chains. We all see things that break us. The lucky ones get to choose what shape the pieces make after. She accepted her serving with grace that spoke of too many meals eaten in uncertain company. Right now, I'm more interested in why you didn't take your exit when offered. Because he refused it first, Marcus gestured at Edrin with his spoon. Do you know how long it's been since someone looked at me and saw a person instead of a problem to solve? 3 years, give or take. The boy chose mercy without payment. Seemed rude not to reciprocate. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. He turned to Edrin. The real question is what you plan to do now. The armour won't wait forever. Nethrix has limited patience for mortals who don't follow scripts. 6 weeks, Edrin said. I just need to last 6 weeks. You have perhaps 6 days before the souls tear your mind apart. Less if you keep absorbing more. Marcus stated it as fact, not prediction. I can feel the fractures from here. Your essence is spreading thin, trying to contain them all. Then I'll find another way. The only other way is the one Calum mentioned. The third option between screaming and serving, but he wouldn't say what it was. Because you have to discover it yourself, Mira interjected. That's how divine tests work. They give you impossible choices and wait to see if you'll find the door they didn't mention. And if there is no door, then you make one. They finished the meal in contemplative silence. Above them, stars wheeled in patterns that might have been random or might have spelled out divine intentions. The war continued its escalation somewhere beyond their circle of firelight. Gods and demons moved pieces on boards vast and terrible. But for this moment, 3 broken people shared food and the simple comfort of not being alone in their breaking. I should set watches, Edrin said eventually. No need. Marcus lay back, staring at stars. Grief's echo keeps me awake. Side effect of carrying so much sorrow. Sleep brings dreams, and dreams bring memories that aren't mine. I'll watch. Can we trust you? Probably not, but I'm the best bad option you have. He closed his eyes without sleeping. Besides, where would I go? You're the only interesting thing to happen in years. Might as well see how the story ends. Edrin settled for rest, knowing it would bring the usual chorus of arguments. But tonight felt different. The rejection of Nethrix's armour had shifted something. The 21 voices still screamed, but underneath their chaos, he sensed a new resonance, not agreement. They were too disparate for that. But perhaps acknowledgement. He had chosen the harder path. That mattered somehow. Sleep took him down into dreams where 21 souls debated whether nobility or stupidity would kill him first. But for the first time, the debate seemed more philosophical than certain. Progress, perhaps, or the first symptom of the madness to come. Time would tell. Time always did. But first, he had to survive it. I withdrew from direct observation to report what I had witnessed. The quieter chord needed to know that pieces were moving in patterns no one had predicted. The council convened at my call. Unusual urgency for our kind, but these were unusual times. The chamber materialized with its customary otherworldly perfection. 7 figures arranging themselves in judgment circle. Velis. The speaker's tone carried concern. You invoke emergency protocols. I do. The situation accelerates beyond projected parameters. I organized my thoughts carefully. Even here, words had weight. The sole weapon bearer refused Nethrix's armour. Silence greeted this. Divine gifts were not refused. Mortal survival instinct assured that. Refused? Ashren leaned forward. Clarify. Nethrix offered armour that would preserve his sanity, enhance his abilities, allow him to survive until the hammer's completion. The price was connection. Nethrix would always know his location and actions. The boy said, no. Madness, then. The souls have already broken him. No, choice. Deliberate, reasoned against his own interests, but aligned with principles he won't abandon. I let that settle. He also spared Marcus Fellblade, converted an enemy to, not quite ally, but fellow traveller. Fellblade lives? This from Keeper Thane. 43 souls worth of sorrow and he still breathes? They both do. Travelling together now, along with the escaped truth seeker, Mira. The speaker's voice carried layers. That one has been dark to us since she fled. Her presence complicates matters. Or clarifies them. She knows what the Aurelian hide. Perhaps that knowledge shapes current events. Dangerous speculation, Violis. These are dangerous times. The war escalates beyond natural progression. Nethrix moves openly. Ishkara weaves plots. And at the centre, a mortal boy carrying impossible power makes impossible choices. I paused, choosing words carefully. I believe we approach an inflection point. The well? Always that fear lurked beneath our discussions. Secured but strained. The uptick in soul weapon activity creates distortions. If someone were planning something, I let the implication hang. You suggest coordinated action, that the Varkal move in concert. I suggest we consider possibilities we've dismissed as impossible. The boy's existence proves divine weapons can evolve beyond their making. What else might change that we assume constant? They considered this in silence that stretched like centuries. Continue observation, the speaker finally commanded, but maintain distance. If the boy's madness makes him weapon against order itself. We intervene, Ashran finished. Directly, accord law be damned. You speak of breaking foundations. I speak of survival. If the choice is between law and existence, we know which serves best. Not yet. The speaker's tone brooked no argument. Observation continues, but Valis, prepare contingencies. If intervention becomes necessary, it must be swift, decisive, total. Understood. Though understanding and accepting were different things. One more matter, Keeper Thane interjected. The hammer you commissioned, it nears completion? Within the timeline specified, 6 weeks total, 4 remaining. And if the boy breaks before then? Then Calum will have crafted something remarkable that no one can wield. I met their eyes steadily, but I don't believe he'll break. Bend, perhaps. Change, certainly. But not break. Faith, Valis, from you? Observation of patterns. The boy consistently chooses the harder path when easier ones exist. That suggests strength we haven't properly measured. Or stupidity we haven't fully grasped. Perhaps they're the same thing in mortals. The council dissolved on that uncomfortable thought. I returned to mortal realm to find dawn breaking over the unlikely trio's camp. Edrin writhed in nightmare's grip while 21 souls fought for dominance. Marcus watched stars fade with eyes that had forgotten how to close. Mira pretended to sleep while maintaining vigilance. 3 broken people defying divine scripts. It shouldn't work. By all logic, they should destroy each other or themselves within days. But logic, I was learning, had limits when applied to mortal will. I settled into observation once more, watching, recording, trying not to hope. But hope, like madness, had its own patience, and time would tell which proved stronger. The attack came 3 days later, swift and professional and exactly what Ishkara had orchestrated. They'd been travelling north, skirting the war zones while searching for a safe place to deposit the assassin children. The road wound through forest that remembered better days, before armies started using trees for siege engines and clarity for killing grounds. Edrin's condition had deteriorated notably. The 21 voices no longer argued. They screamed in continuous discord that made thought agony and speech careful work. Frost followed his footsteps. Shadows writhed without prompting. Time hiccuped around him in stutters that made reality uncertain. We need to find shelter, Mira observed, watching him stumble over nothing. Soon. The monastery's still a day away, Marcus replied. He'd taken to Walking Point, grief's echo serving as dowsing rod for sorrow. But there's an old way station about. The crossbow bolt took him in the shoulder, spinning him around. Professional work, not a killing shot, but disabling. As he fell, more bolts filled the air in patterns that spoke of training, coordination, purpose. Ambush, Mira stated, unnecessarily diving for cover. But there wasn't any. The attackers had chosen their ground well. A stretch of road with steep banks, no trees close enough for shelter, nowhere to run, but forward or back into more killing ground. Edrin tried to draw Sorrow's edge, but his hands shook too badly. The soul's cacophony rose to crescendo, 21 different combat responses trying to execute simultaneously. He froze, paralysed by option paralysis. The attackers revealed themselves, not soldiers, not bandits, not harvesters. These were inquisitors, the Aurelians' answer to problems that required solving outside official channels. They wore grey that bent light around it, carried weapons blessed by order itself, moved with the certainty of divine mandate. Edrin soul-forged, their leader called, a woman with silver hair and eyes like winter judgment. By authority of the luminaries, you will submit to containment. Your weapon will be surrendered. Your souls will be catalogued and dispersed. Compliance brings mercy. Resistance brings nothing. Counteroffer, Marcus gasped from where he bled. You turn around and pretend you never found us. Fellblade, your termination was authorized years ago. Only bureaucratic inefficiency kept you breathing. The Inquisitor didn't even look at him. Today corrects that oversight. She gestured. Two of her squad moved forward with the mechanical precision of those who'd done this too many times to count. They knew their business. They'd hunted rogue divine agents before. They had tools for every contingency. Except for Mira stepping from shadow, she shouldn't have been able to access. "Hello, Seeker Pravers," she said conversationally. "Been a while." The Inquisitor's composure cracked. "Mira, you're supposed to be dead." "Supposed to be many things. Disappointing people is my specialty." She moved between the approaching squad and Edrin, empty hands somehow more threatening than weapons. "Let them go. This isn't your fight." "You harbour a Class 7 divine anomaly. That makes it precisely our fight." But Pravers gestured her squad to pause. "Return with us. Face judgment. Perhaps the luminaries will show mercy." "The luminaries don't know mercy from marzipan, and we both know what kind of judgment waits." Mira smiled sadly. "Walk away, Pravers. Please. You were almost friend once. I was your handler. You mistook utility for affection." The Inquisitor drew a blade that hurt to perceive, order give an edge. Submit or be subdued. Last chance. Everything happened at once. Marcus, despite his wound, rolled upright and brought grief's echo into play. The blade's sorrow washed over the nearest Inquisitors, drowning them in their own deepest regrets. Mira moved, not combat forms, but something older, stranger. Reality bent around her as if remembering she'd once worn a crown that showed truth behind all veils. The attacking Inquisitors found their strikes hitting air, their certainty crumbling into doubt. And Edrin finally managed to draw Sorrow's edge, and the world exploded. Time didn't just slow, it shattered. Shadows didn't just writhe, they erupted. The 21 souls, pushed beyond breaking, synchronized in their desperation. Not harmony, but resonance, like a chord made of screams that somehow produced music. He moved through the Inquisitors like wind through wheat. Not killing, he maintained that much control, but disabling with precision that 21 viewpoints made inevitable. Each strike perfectly placed to incapacitate without ending. Each movement flowing into the next with grace born of absolute necessity. In 10 seconds, it was over. 6 Inquisitors down, alive but in no shape to continue pursuit. Pravers alone remained standing, her order-blessed blade trembling as it tried to process what had just happened. Impossible, she breathed. The soul should have torn you apart by now. They're trying, Edrin admitted, swaying on his feet. Blood ran from his nose, his ears, the corners of his eyes where vessels had burst from strain. But we found something else to do first. This isn't over. The Accord knows where you are now, what you're becoming. They'll send more. Let them come, Marcus said, struggling upright despite his shoulder. We're collecting broken things. Maybe some inquisitors want to join our mad parade. You mock what you don't understand. But Pravus was already backing away, professionalism recognizing a lost position. The balance must be maintained. If you threaten that, the balance is already broken, Mira interrupted. Has been for centuries. We're just the visible symptoms of an invisible disease. The Inquisitor retreated with her wounded, promising return with greater force. They watched her go, too exhausted to pursue even if they'd wanted to. Well, Marcus said conversationally as he collapsed. That was bracing. Also, I'm dying. The bolt was poisoned, in case anyone cared. Mira was already at his side, pulling supplies from her eternal pack. Aurelian poison, orderly death, stops the heart in perfect sequence. I have the antidote, but it'll hurt. Chaos introduced to order never plays nice. Story of my life. Do it. As she worked, Edrin sank to his knees in the road. The synchronized souls were fragmenting again. The moment of crisis passed. But something had changed. They'd worked together, briefly, proved it was possible. Maybe that was Calum's third option, not screaming or serving, but cooperating. The thought fled as exhaustion claimed conscious thought. He fell forward, caught at the last moment by hands that might have been Mira's or might have been Death's, and knew no more. When he woke, it would be to find the world had shifted again. Pravus would report to her superiors, the Accord would debate intervention, and somewhere in the divine realm, Nethrix would smile and whisper perfect to shadows that listened all too well. But that was Future's problem. For now, 3 broken people held each other upright on a road painted with divine intention, and that was enough. It had to be.
The story continues, as all stories must. Find the next chapter at Codex 11. Subscribe, lest the Forge's call go unheard. The Forge is patient, but it does not wait forever.